Hello, I'm Jonathan Moyes, Head of Investment Research at Wealth Club, and today I'm with Lisa Fox of Guinness Ventures to talk about the Guinness EIS fund. Hello Lisa, welcome to the studio.
Good morning, Jonathan.
So we're here to talk about the EIS fund. Firstly, what is it and why should investors consider it?
So the Guinness EIS fund allows investors to invest in high growth UK companies which are EIS eligible. We're looking for Series A, $1 million of revenue, and for companies with a really proven track record, great management team, and the ability to grow. Why should investors consider it? They should consider it because we produce a really curated, diversified portfolio with companies which are ready to scale and we hope exit.
And so for those who aren't familiar, Guinness Ventures, who are Guinness Ventures and what's your role there?
So Guinness Ventures was established in 2010. We are part of a much bigger group, Guinness Global Investors, which has got about 8 billion under management. We've invested over 320 million into around 200 companies in the UK over the last 15 years. And we have an investment team which specialises predominantly across all sectors, but in consumer brands, productivity enhancing technology and healthcare.
And so what sort of companies are you looking to invest in specifically?
So we're really looking for companies which have got the ability to use the capital to grow more quickly. We filter out for companies which are typically growing anywhere north of 60% when we first meet them. And those companies will be building their business in the UK and also internationally. And so we're looking for companies which have got very, very strong and ambitious management teams with a clear path to growth. We're not looking at the earlier stage companies which are at concept stage. We're looking at ones with a proven track record.
They've typically always got maybe several million of revenue as well. That seems to be a feature of Guinness, that the companies are a little bit further along when you start to look at them and invest.
Yes, that's right. So we filter out at $1 million of revenue, but if you look across the investments that we made last year, we made 12 investments in total, 8 new, 4 reinvestments, and those had an average revenue of around 5 million. So particularly if we're looking at consumer brands, we're looking at the slightly later stage companies, and they have developed their revenues more aggressively. That's just because it's hard to create a defensible barrier when you're in consumer. Whereas with tech companies, which have got a more predictable revenue stream, we might be able to come in slightly earlier.
But typically they've got something at that point, haven't they? You've kind of de-risked the early stages of that investment.
Yes, absolutely. And quite often we're dealing with founders who've also managed and run and maybe even exited businesses before.
So Lisa, how do you find these investments?
So we have a great network. We produce around 1,500 leads a year, and we will investigate around 600 companies and bring that down to around 20, which we bring to investment committee. I sit on the investment committee as well. And we typically find those from advisors, from other investors, from other entrepreneurs. Some of them have raised money and successfully exited with us before.
And once you've invested, do you typically get involved with these businesses, or are you finding management teams and just letting them get on with it?
So we're very supportive. We try and use our advisors' networks. We try and give advice when needed and stand back when it's not. We typically take a board seat or a board observer role so we can keep in close contact with founders. But if it's a really strong management team, we also try and make sure that we're not interfering with their strategy. And
so turning to recent investments, any recent investments you can share with us?
Yes, we've got 2 which we did in the last tax year. So we did 8 in total. 2 of them I wanted to highlight. One was Perci Health, which is holistic cancer care. So with more people surviving cancer and also getting cancer at an earlier stage and then wanting to return to work, Perci Health provides all the clinician support, the data. It provides that to the insurance companies, which are then enabled to pass those services on to the people that they're looking after. So Perci Health has been a really high impact company for us. Another one is Yaso. So Yaso helps brands build in China with a particular focus on consumables, wellness brands, but that's been an invaluable service for companies that want to de-risk what is quite a big investment on the other side of the world and grow their brands successfully.
There's been quite a few investors in that. I think Hatch and maybe Triple Point as well.
Yeah, and Playfair as well.
And Playfair.
So that's been very popular. They raised around $11 million in the last round.
So Lisa, turning to your more established portfolio, any particular highlights there? Any interesting companies you can talk about?
Yes, we're really strong in healthcare at the moment. So we were early backers into a business called Cera Care, which is approaching 400 million of revenue. That's providing domestic care services and saving the NHS, I think up to $1 billion was the last quoted figure. Potentially that's our first unicorn. And then we followed up with investments like Perci Health, but also another investment called Evaro, which is a digital pharmacy, which enables people to go online, consult with a clinician and order their prescriptions. So that's really interesting. I think the other area where we're particularly strong, having invested in Fussy in the prior tax year, we have seen that do very well. So Fussy is probiotic deodorant. It's now launched its new body wash. They're up to around 30 million of revenue. And we've continued our success by investing in MOTH cocktails, which is doing incredibly well, and also Goodrays, which is a CBD drink.
Oh, very good. I think I've seen all of those. So I guess the ultimate goal is to generate some exits. The past couple of years, the environment's been a little bit soft for exits generally in the industry. Any exits you can talk about?
Yes, so since COVID, we've had some big high-profile exits. One of them was Evangelists, which you may be familiar with, selling to Barilla. We've had ContentCal, which was sold to Adobe. We've had Imagen, which sold to Thomson Reuters. And then more recently, we've had a partial exit in PlotBox, which is a software management provider to crematoria and also predominantly to cemeteries, which has built a very big business very successfully overseas. And they recently had backing from a US private equity firm.
So I guess you can't talk about successes without also talking about risks. How do you describe the risks within the EIS fund?
So these are very high risk investments. You have to put in money that you can afford to put in. You might not see it again. Having said that, we try and mitigate the risk as much as possible. We have a very experienced team. We spend a lot of time on extensive due diligence. And as I mentioned earlier, we see 1,500 decks a year, and we probably invest in 10 to 12 companies in a given year. So we really whittle it down and try and identify the kind of key points that we want. We invest in real world, readily understandable businesses. So that's a great help. It's companies that people can really relate to and understand. And we try and make sure that we've really done our due diligence, not only ourselves, but within our networks as well.
And so summing up everything we've discussed, Lisa, for those that are looking to back an EIS fund this year, why should they back Guinness EIS?
So the Guinness EIS fund gives investors access to real world businesses which are in a high growth phase and ready to scale across consumer, productivity and tech and healthcare. We have a highly experienced investment team. We do a lot of due diligence and we always seek out the best of British innovation and opportunity. And I think that makes a compelling case to invest with Guinness.
Well, very good. Lisa Fox of Guinness Ventures, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
If you're watching on YouTube, please press like or subscribe to the channel for more.